for joining Circle Optics 360-Degree Pulse. I am your host, Jennifer Sertle, Director of Marketing at Circle Optics. 360-degree imaging is part of everyday life, and Circle Optics technology is being designed to accelerate aerospace safety and also increase immersive experiences. This podcast, 360 Pulse, is dedicated to featuring immersive technology and the innovators that are working on these capabilities. Now, Zach, our founder, and I have been working on customer discovery, looking at how our Hydra 2 and Hydra 3 systems might impact cinematography. And in the process, we were lucky to have a conversation with our guest today, Jonathan Berube. Jonathan has built a reputation as a dynamic force in the creative world, and you may not know his name right now, but as soon as I tell you what he's worked on, you're going to feel like he's a household name, right? He's contributed to iconic franchises like Avatar, Star Wars, Blizzard, Apple, and Nike. And today he channels a quarter century of hands-on knowledge on top-tier C-suite creativity. His journey spans every corner of the industry, from feature films and TV, and I have to add Stranger Things. Like, my son, who's 17, doesn't think I'm really cool and do neat things, but today he was super excited for me. I need to go back to the bio, right? He does games, academia, and for brainstorming ideas to fine-tuning final audio details, Jonathan has gleaned insights and best practices from some of the greatest minds, and he's also someone that we are gleaning the best practices from. And at the heart of his work is a relentless drive for excellence, a sharp technical know-how, and what I really love is his genuine love for the craft. And so with that, Jonathan, I'm so excited to have you on 360 Pulse today.
Oh, thanks for having me. Pleasure is mine.
So you've contributed to some of the most iconic franchises in the world, including Avatar and Star Wars. Can you share a bit about how your journey, and then how you navigated through such a diverse range of industries?
So, yeah, over the last 25 years, I had the chance to work, like you said, on TV, some commercials, some game cinematics, and then some feature film. And in my role, at least, there's a great deal of technology and hard skills that actually overlaps. All these mediums, at the end of the day, they're trying to convey a story or a message, and they do that through a visual vessel. So visual communication tools and know-how kind of applies to all of them. As far as what I've been relying on the most, I find the traditional skills like drawing and painting and photography and layout and staging and all these things. Even though we recreate these with software, underneath it all, rules of composition apply for all of them. Color theory applies to all of them. Lighting design applies to all of them. Form and shape language applies to all of them. So harnessing a strong traditional skills, I think, has helped me to hop between one industry another and one software another.
So, I mean, all of them are great storytelling. I'm wondering if there's a lot of work coming in, how do you filter what projects you want to work on? Because I suppose there's a lot more demand than you actually have capacity for, and that's really interesting.
So this one's actually a really good question. Like, I feel if you're trying to make a name for yourself with a specific genre, being a little bit more selective can help to kind of cater a pedigree or a name within a specific field. I've been leaning towards the science fiction stuff because I love engineering and I love the space look of things, and that's just been my field that I've chose to pursue. Yeah.
So I love it. So you're very discerning on your work, and it sounds like you really are interested in like what would be compelling. And the neatest thing is that we'll be able to share your Venmo and your Instagram, where it's hard to have an audio program when so much of your craft is visual and all of that. Of all the projects you've worked on, are there a couple that stand out for you as most transformative to you personally? And why? That's so interesting.
Okay, so that's a good question too. Within the journey, right, we meet people along the way that will have a great impact on us and shaping our career even. I was lucky to have a pretty long run at Blizzard Entertainment from 2004 to 2016, I would say. So it's about like 12 years, I'd say. And when I started, I was a very young industry professional, like very junior guy. And by the time I left, I was a senior art director. So that has to be one of the company that has shaped me quite a bit. Met a lot of great people along the way. And also I had the chance to operate under different capacities over there. So some non-leadership role and some big leadership role. And I think in 2009, I think when I did the Heart of the Swarm StarCraft cinematic, that I had to go through a big transformation. It was my first full-on leadership role. It was a big team. It was about like 300 people, I would say, and it was one of our most important intellectual property. And it was kind of my first real shot in the arena as a big project leader sort of thing. And I really noticed some things were a natural fit, and some other things not so much. And so I had to grow a lot of leadership muscles and a lot of organizational muscles and even self-discipline and things like that. And it was a big transformation in the sense that the conclusion was where to apply effort and what is okay to let go was a big adjustment for me. Like some things. When you're held accountable with a project like this, you want things to go well, right? And then to me, the first thing is like, okay, I want to control the outcome. I want to control the odds. But so much in a leadership role is actually about letting go. So this whole paradoxical thing took me a little while to kind of grasp of what to let go of and what to keep a close eye on. So I have to say that has to be my biggest transformative on the personal side. On the professional side, I think Avatar was the one that really expanded my horizon and opened my eyes, because the caliber and the technology and the quality of the team was just so high that it was like, oh, wow, I've never seen that before. That's really cool. I'm taking notes. So that was a really fun on the professional side of things.
Wow. Knowing when to lead and when to follow, and the idea of knowing what's mission critical and what to let go of, I think I'm looking forward to you. That might be a book or something that you would write at some point, only because I think that, we're going from being a startup to actually going to scale. And I could really hear important lessons that I'm going to need to learn and we're going to need to learn in order to do what we need to do. Because you can't be everywhere all at once. And having to trust the vision, as people are entrusted to us for the vision and you for the vision, but to be able to translate that and I can't wait. You got to tell me how to do it, because that sounds really, really amazing. You mentioned having a one-of-a-kind creative operation playbook. Can you elaborate on maybe 2 or 3 best practices that you've incorporated from your experience that can help our listeners be more effective in whatever domain they want expertise in?
Yes, sure thing. That's also a very fascinating topic. And in fact, over the last 5 years, I think that has been my favorite area of production to kind of focus on. So every team, every project, every company has a way of doing things, right? And the more you craft that special way, the more you can add value and become, profitable or efficient or whatever. And having a chance to bounce from one industry to another, these industries like between video games or a film long format or even TV episodic, these industries, these mediums, they have slightly different needs. So they demand for slightly different approaches. But when you get the chance to hop between one another, you see things done in game that is actually pretty cool that could be, helping the film people and vice versa. And if you look at the game industry, for example, like one thing I realize is that a lot of companies kind of operate with a very similar kind of playbook. You go from one company to the other. It's the same sort of title, as the same process. And it makes sense because people, they do 5 years at a place and then they go to another company. They bring a lot of what they see. But rarely do I see an organization that's like, you know what, let's scrap it all and start from a white page. Like, what is it we're truly trying to achieve? And what is the most direct shot to get there? And what is the best way to stack the team around our goal? And this very flexible, agile, kind of fresh eye, I haven't seen a whole lot. And that has to be one thing that stood out to me recently when I did work with a startup where there was no convention to fight against, or there was no semantics to kind of undo. They just, in a way, they kind of didn't know better. And that was so refreshing because every sort of idea is like, hey, I've seen I've seen a bidding process from some folks on commercial that's really, really effective. I think we should use that. And they're like, all right, let's do it. And I was like, I've seen something in pre-production that's very impressive from Avatar. I think we should do that. And so that was to go back to the playbook. It's a combination of the best practices that I've seen mixed with doing your own kind of critical thinking. It's like, do we really need this or not? So to give you an example, the transparency of communication is actually very interesting. So in a lot of companies, especially in film, the information is kind of power, and it's very funneled down only a certain little vector, if you want. And the more transparent you make the information to the team, the better everyone is able to get involved in accomplishing the goals that you have, right? So there's more minds that can contribute, and there's more people that understand what it is you're trying to do. So the way you can organize information, whether it be on a system like Notion or ClickUp or things like that, where there's like this almost like extreme radical transparency, really help align the effort on the team, as opposed to constantly manage the communication with coordinators and do that and play telephone games that are most of the time completely off. And you need salaries to organize all these communication, whereas in the end you kind of don't need them at all if the information is organized a certain way. So that was a big one. Another one is when you've had the chance to almost do all the roles in the creative process. So whether it be in the movie, for the movie guys out there. So if you've been a little bit of a writer and a storyboard artist and you work in previs, and you go all the way to DI and nuke compositing and ACES, color science, whatever, and everything in between, you see that a lot of roles, they could be integrated a lot better. Like I have seen things where you get previs that's done in 3D and it's awesome. And then the VFX company kind of rebuilds everything as opposed to sharing file. That happens so many times, even in films. Like we've seen like a concept art that use a lot of 3D, and then the VFX kind of rebuilds everything from scratch, as opposed to use the same layout that was already done. It's like, why? And as a director and as an art director, one thing that I've seen over and over is, why am I giving this feedback again? Why is this not sticking? Oh, it's a different team. It's a new pipeline. It's a different this, and all this waste. It's like we've already went through all the iteration of approval, and then here we are starting over. So the way you can integrate the individual contributors with the tools that in the process, there's a lot of overlap, and there's a lot of shortcuts in the maze that can be taken. And that came from kind of having the chance to do a lot of roles. So that I'll give you two, but the rest I'm going to keep for myself, because that's part of our economic moat. And,
I love it.
And business secrecy.
I love it. So we have the transparency of communication, the looking at streamlining work to reduce any duplication of effort, and the third is keep the secret sauce secret. I'm loving it.
Yeah, a little bit, because it is part of when you look at the financial aspect of a company, right? Like the R&D is part of an expense. It's something that we pay for, and it's something that we want to keep, and it's what gives us our competitive edge in a capital market. We're all fending for the same resources and the same pool of customers, and that's R&D is part of our competitive edge. So yeah. So you got to pay for that one. what I'm learning and loving is the idea that to me, listening to you, there's technical capability plus heart equals some magic. I would really love to hear from you how, in the midst of so many updates, so much new technology, sounds like know-how is very important to you. How do you stay up to date in technology? Because you also have a day job, and you know what I mean? Like, it's not like you just learn all the time. How do you manage that complexity? Yes, I've always been an avid student, and I think I still am. I think I went back to university like over the last year. I try to take a big course every year. I was actually planning to go do a directing retreat that I saw that looks cool, even though I already know what I know, but I don't know what I don't know. And so how do I keep up to date? I read a whole lot. I enjoy reading every morning, every sunset. I try to carve out like an hour of reading every day. whether it be about like color science or Nanite and Unreal, and some fellow artists in my field that do amazing Patreon tutorial. I kind of love to see how they do things. So that's a big part. So learning and academic resources. I've been involved with Norman School of Visual Effects since 2009. I've been on the board of directors over there for the curriculum, and a close friend to Alex Alvarez, who's the founder. And just to go over there on the campus and see what the students are up to, what they're learning, what is the latest software that we're teaching for the future workforce is very important to keep an eye on. So that's another one. And I think the most important, the most contributing item has been my incredible group of friends, Maciej Kucera, Vitaly Bulgarov, Fausto Di Martini, Finn Tio, David Keegan, like all these guys that we love to share cool stuff with one another and also compete with one another at the same time has been a very healthy way to keep me on my toes. I mean, I have some friends that are incredibly talented and incredibly disciplined and prolific that they're hard to keep up, but they've been a big factor in my personal growth.
It sounds like steel sharpens steel. And it sounds like you're having a great time doing that, which is wonderful.
Yeah.
So let's see, looking at some other things that we wanted to know, how about there are many young students. We live in Rochester Institute of Technology, and there's a lot of students that end up working in some of the digital media aspects of it. What advice do you have to any young people that are kind of entering the field as creatives? And then also just as a human, if there's any type of lesson that you learned that might have taken you by surprise that you would want to fortify a young person to be prepared for, those would be great.
Well, no sacrifice, no victory, right? Like you could go to the beach on Saturday, or you could learn Unreal 5 point, whatever is the latest version, right? That's a choice. It's a choice that comes with discipline. It's a choice that comes with, it's hard to make sometimes. You'll always be glad you did. But if you devote a great deal of sacrifice, it will come back as a great deal of success. So I think that's one, and that's a self-discipline thing. You know, you kind of get out what you put in. So your track record, is your work well known is all relative to how much you put out there, right? So if you want to land a job as a director, you got to pick up the camera and direct something, even if it totally sucks. It's going to lead to something. Someone's going to see it, and in fact, that is how I got my first directing job. I saw The Mandalorian and I thought it was amazing. And I was like, I wonder if I could direct an episode of The Mandalorian. I wonder if I'd be ready for that. It's a pretty expensive franchise. It's pretty high caliber. So I did this whole write-up about the Kessel Run and just to exercise what I've learned on Avatar and try to emphasize on story and whatever. And then some company saw it and they're like, hey, we'd love you to direct our game trailer. I was like, amazing. And it was basically, I was already kind of doing it. So another good item for the students is like, if you want to be hired as a look dev artist, as a compositor, as a modeler, as a game level designer, game designer, director, art director, whatever, even if it's an unpaid project, like go cut your teeth to something where you can say, hey, I was the art director on this, I was the director of my friend's project, whatever, and put it out there, and then do another one, and then another one, and then another one, and then eventually after the years they're going to become more and more legitimate, and then eventually you're going to be like, wow, how did I get here? So doing is a lot more important than researching or talking about it, essentially.
I mean, cutting your teeth with Mandalorian, though. I mean, I have to say, I am smiling a big smile because that's a really clear task. They call it sometimes big, hairy, audacious goals, but that's amazing, and it's exciting that you're now 25 years into the experience of stretching, and it sounds like you're almost as much of a student now as you were when you started in terms of like what you want to accomplish. And I kind of want to move to the future. What do you think
wait 1 second.
Oh, yeah.
Before to clarify, I did not work on The Mandalorian. I saw The Mandalorian on Apple TV, and I had a friend, I think, within my Avatar office who was working on The Mandalorian at night. And when I saw the product, I got so inspired from it that it made me want to kind of do my own personal version. And then that is the result that game company saw. So just to clarify, I did not work on the Mandalorian. I wish I did. I wish I'd work on the next season, but I did not. So just to be clear.
I thank you for that. And the neat thing about what you clarified there, it also talked about the fact that you're inspired by the work. And there's almost like this echo 100%. That like your inspiration of that product then caused in you to find something deeper that created the next product that I'm sure is inspiring the next person. So it's almost like this wonderful regenerative well of innovation.
Yeah. And cheers to all the guys at ILM and Lucasfilm that put on the stagecraft work of The Mandalorian and the episode on Disney Plus. It's truly a really impressive revival of the Star Wars universe. It was very, very different and very cool, and it almost kind of spearheaded the whole venture of Disney doing TV episodic with the Star Wars franchise, and that was a very impressive deed from them.
You know, what's so neat too is I was in second grade when Star Wars came out, and during recess, you know, I would be Princess Leia, and there was the cute boy that was Mark Luke, you know. But the thing is that the 4 generations are now connected through that franchise. And the idea of storytelling, it's so beautiful. And like the gaming, I'm not quite sure if, oh gosh, the name of the game is escaping me. I might, anyway, I'm going to keep moving on and go to the next question. I probably think of it at 2:00 in the morning was the game that I played with my son that I love so much. And I'm wondering if it was a Blizzard game. But we'll go back to, I'd really like us to move towards the future. What excites you the most about the future of the creative industry, and what projects or trends are you looking forward to moving into?
So I'm going to try to do like a super like pie in the sky version of that answer, and one that's a little bit like forthcoming, like probably like 5 to 7 years ahead. A big topic, especially in our field. I was going to say the game engine integration into the filmmaking process is very interesting, and that's already kind of old in a way. It's not that much about the future. It's like we've already done that, but it really opens up a great. It accelerates the feedback loop. So if you're a director of photography on set, if you're a director or production designer or whatever, the fact that you can move in real time, you know, the lighting on a set, or it's almost like the ability to do visual effects in real time, almost, and that opens up a whole area of flexibility for the creative people. Like when I started on Softimage 3.9, we had to wait like an hour for a mental ray render to just show us what the last few clicks we did resulted as. Whereas right now you move things in real time in Unreal, and it's almost unfair. You know, it's like, oh man, that's so much easier as an artist to be able to see what you do is a big important thing. So we saw the real time engine kind of integrating into the VFX pipeline lately, and that's more to come, I think. But then right after, we saw the AI thing with Midjourney and the whole splat thing and stable diffusion and all that. And that's just mind-boggling. I can't even wrap my head around this one. It's too much to kind of digest. But that's very interesting as well. Like for the creative process, I've used it myself. I'm not like an anti-AI person. I embrace the tool as they come, and I try to reinvent myself with them and try to stay relevant in my field, just like everybody else. And it's truly impressive. Like it comes up with stuff I would never think about. I still love, usually as an art director or director, I kind of know what I want. And AI has been the sidekick that's like, hey, you could do this too. I'm like, whoa, I did not think of that. And that's pretty cool looking too. So that's one thing. But for the long-term, you know, pie in the sky sort of answer to that question, I do see a future somewhat near where the Neuralink opens up a new realm of entertainment. So we've seen storytelling and games has been engaging the ears and eyes, right? We look at visuals, and then we hear sound effects, sound scores, and narrative, dialogue, whatever. But with if we could kind of tap into the neuroelectrical signals of our brain, kind of like the Matrix essentially, but a little bit of what Neuralink is doing, I could see that being a completely next level medium of storytelling. Like think about you're doing a Spider-Man movie or a Spider-Man game, and you can communicate to the brain a true sense of vertigo as you're experiencing the shot or the whatever. Like there's so many other senses that our brain kind of creates that we're just tapping in only two so far with the narrative, the way we do it. But I look forward to the day where we can expand that palette a little bit and start to create a way more complex kind of engaging experiences, just like that movie Strange Days, I think, by Catherine Bigelow. That was a really cool idea.
Oh my God. I mean, I've got like here, like I'm almost like, because I was thinking almost like Neuralink in terms of like dreams become, food for creative, but then you took it really to like physiology and the physiology of the experience. So more than a simulated experience, it would be like, I'm almost like, in terms of vertigo, I'm feeling a little vertigo right now on this conversation. Yeah. It's so amazing. You have been listening to creative executive Jonathan Berube. Thank you for joining us. We would like to also thank the Institute of Optics, Genius New York, Luminate Accelerator, AFWorks, Cider Technologies, Archangel Imaging, and AUVSI. Special mention to our producer, Scott Fitzgerald at RockVox Studios here in the heart of optics, expertise in Rochester, New York. Subscribe to our program. Find us on LinkedIn and X. We are very interested in how immersive technology positively impacts safety and human connection. And if you know a story we should feature or a guest, I'd really love you to reach out to me at jennifer@circleoptics.com. Thank you for joining us.